What is going on, my Jets family? I appreciate you guys, like always, for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Appreciate you guys being here. Now, the topic of tonight's show is going to be all about week one of training camp because there has been some exciting stories of what we've been hearing, some interesting stuff brewing, stuff going down. And we got to talk about this because there's been we're seeing who's going to potentially be starters. But again, before we get started, and I'm testing something out this week, I want to try something. We're going to be doing segments. I got banners, me bringing up. The first thing I want to bring up is for everybody out there. And again, I see people coming in right now. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for being here for the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. But what we're going to start off with is, as we know, week one of training camp has started. Things are going, but we need to calm down. The pads aren't on yet. Once the pads go on, that's when we're going to see the men separated from the boys. You remember we talked about it all the other, I think it was like last week, but honestly, we've been talking about it a bunch because we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for training camp. And why are we waiting? Because pads are going on. We're going to see people getting hit. And I pointed it out with guys like Josh Adams, power backs like that. It's hard to assess a guy like that without pads on. Chris Ivory wouldn't have looked as good in an OTA, in a mini camp, but you put pads on that dude. You guys remember Chris Ivory. This guy was a monster, like blowing people down, blasting through that line. Pads going on makes the big difference. So again, I want to start with that. The pads aren't on yet. So all those short superstars, as I like to call them, and as other people have called them as well. And see people coming in, shout out to you guys. But those shorts superstars go away sometimes. We've seen it specifically, at wide receiver, like with Clyde Gates, Chad Henson, who somehow had that year with the Texans. We'll see what happens. Darius Stewart. A lot of guys look good in shorts, but when the pads go on, the men are going to be separated from the boys. I've said it before. Mike Tyson said it best. Mike Tyson's quote was, "Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth." And that's when things change. Remember, my opinion was, how nobody can really prepare for us. How can you scheme, for Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback of the Jets, the new head coach, rookie offensive coordinator. So remember, my thing was punch them in the mouth out of the gate. Like, they ain't going to be ready. Like, they're going to get ready by week 3 or 4 because this is the NFL. This is where the big boys play. So they're going to be ready and they're going to get used to it, but we got to come at them. Now, I don't think we could win the Tennessee game. I honestly don't, especially now that freaking Jones is in the equation. Like, that's insanity right there. But those first 3 games, man, we can clear them out. We can. If we come out, like saying, punch them in the mouth out of the gate, they can't be ready for it. But again, my first segment, quick again, calm down. Pads aren't on yet. But more importantly than pads not being on yet, something big has happened since I've been able to join you guys. So in the last week before we came on, again, last Monday, training camp was, just starting out. The week was just beginning to unfold. And also our rookie quarterback hadn't been signed yet. Well, as you guys know, QB1 is now signed. And I hadn't gotten an opportunity to talk with you guys yet. And again, as you guys remember, this is a live, interactive feed. So you guys, I want you to, comment in the chats, bring your opinions. A lot of fun. Let's chat it out. Tell me what you're thinking. Change the topic, possibly come back. But again, we got these new segments going. And with QB1 signed, again, I haven't really been with you guys since he signed. The whole situation, the whole reasoning behind this. And again, I pointed out that Sam Darnold wasn't in training camp in the beginning. Sam Darnold hadn't signed his rookie contract. That's why I couldn't believe people on Twitter. Like, I just thought there were a couple of people on Twitter that were saying that Zach Wilson didn't want to report to camp. Like, he didn't want to report. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, hold on. Like, you remember 2018. Like, it wasn't that long ago. Like, Sam, you can't report. You can't report until your contract is signed. So that needed to get done. But the whole issue, as you guys remember, with Zach Wilson's contract was offset language. And there's been other people, I've seen who have explained this, the concept of what this is. But basically, in a nutshell, it was a escape clause in a way for the team if they cut Zach Wilson and another team picked him up, and how that money would work. When people found that out, they freaked out. And I agree, rightfully so, because I love Joe Douglas. You guys know there's nobody that's a bigger fan of Joe Douglas than me. This is my GM. But if Zach Wilson, and I got to say, but and if, because it's a big if. It's just, I really don't think it's the case. You guys know I think Zach is the guy. I really, really do. But if you're at the point where you're arguing in negotiations, whether you're going to pay the guy if he's cut or not, and again, if Zach Wilson is cut, that's it for Joe Douglas. Like I've said, I'm his biggest fan. I'm one of his biggest supporters. I do feel he's a great GM, but you are judged and graded based on the man behind the center. It's always the way it's going to be, especially if you draft him. Rex was judged by Mark Sanchez. We've seen it throughout all of it. Chad Pennington, I think, as you guys know, would have been great. But again, that pick, you're judged on the quarterback you take. So if Zach Wilson wasn't going to work out, and if you cut him, it's over. The idea of having to worry about that is insanity, because you won't have to worry about it because you won't have a job. It's that simple. So that was the whole thing. The whole thing was offset language, which again was if he was going to be cut. I'm freaking laughing at it. It's crazy. You guys were laughing at it. Finally, it's done. So again, QB1 is now signed. And as we said, you can't report until you're signed. So all this craziness of that he wasn't showing up, it doesn't make sense. It's crazy. He's now signed. He's been there, and we've seen some great stuff. And we're going to talk about that. So talking about the QB1 for a little bit, the story is Zach Wilson, guys. A lot of you were there on Saturday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to join, but a lot of you guys were there on Saturday, and it was great. Zach Wilson looked awesome. As you guys remember, the biggest thing I always talked about with Zach Wilson was his pocket awareness. Was how poised he was in the pocket, his anticipation, his ability to just judge assignments, matchups, and how that defender matches up against that line. It's amazing. You see it, and we're starting to see glimpses of it. Again, the pads aren't on, but we saw clearly on that deep ball to Elijah Moore, he had to make pocket anticipation. He had to step up and threw the ball on the run more often than not. These are the great traits I loved about him. He's showcasing them. It's very, very, very exciting. So those there on Saturday felt, anyone who was hesitant on Zach Wilson that was there fell in love with him. I saw on Twitter, everyone that was there was like, this is our guy. He's the greatest. Shout out to my boy Richie over at Jets Media. He's got great takes, but even just like me, he was right on after Saturday. He's like, Zach is taking us to the promised land. Like, this is it. And I felt that way for a while. So again, that if in the contract was crazy town, because I don't think it's going to happen, so it shouldn't be necessary. But if it were necessary, you're not the one making that decision. You lost your job. So all craziness. But moving on, Zach Wilson is the guy, 100% the guy. And okay, we saw, he looked at the guy on Saturday. We saw it through OTAs and minicamp, just the decision-making he's done, the throws he's making, remember I pointed out, the other thing I loved about him was I called it throwing receivers open. And I've talked about it. It's not just, throwing a ball in a perfect window, which is incredibly important to be able to throw it in a perfect window, but also knowing how much to put on the ball. If you got a guy 5 yards in front of you and you put a rocket at him, you might break his sternum. So he puts great touch on the ball, great velocity, makes great decisions. He looks really, really good. And everyone's excited with him. We had one training camp, as you guys remember, where he didn't look that good. Some people started freaking out. But what you guys have to remember is, as we've been saying, Zach Wilson's a rookie. And as a rookie, he's going to have ups and downs. It's just how it works. I feel like there's going to be significantly more ups than downs. I definitely do. But there's going to be downs. He's, again, a rookie at the NFL level. There's a whole transition to picking up edge rushers and alignments. And as we pointed out, he's smart. As Robert Saleh has said, as Mike LaFleur has said. They've all complimented Zach Wilson a lot, but all complimented him on his learning ability, that he just has a quest of knowledge for the game. He's thirsty to learn. He always wants to get better, learn plays. He's a film junkie. Now, as you guys remember, you guys all follow me. I pointed this out a long time ago when everyone was saying it wasn't the case. We're now seeing it is the case. It is the case in spades. This kid eats football. He sleeps football. He breathes football. I believe it was Keelan Cole. And as you guys know, on my page, on Twitter, Take Flight Media, I like to bring you guys the interviews of the players as well. Not just my takes, but also interviews of the players. So I brought you, ones on Mackay with ABT. I'm going to mention those. We're going to talk about them. But Keelan Cole specifically, he's a character, man. Like, Keelan Cole is a character, and we're going to talk about him. But one of the great things he talked about, that learning ability of Zach Wilson, and basically the way he said it, summarizing it, was that, Zach, he always wants to be the best. He always, wants to be 100% always the best, always nitpicking at everything. Basically a perfectionist was the way he was explaining him. And that's really what you want, because I hate to compare anyone to Tom Brady because I don't like Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's won his Super Bowls, whether I like him or not. And perfectionist, film junkie, study, knowledge of the game, all the things we've mentioned about Zach Wilson also can be mentioned about him. I don't like it, but it's a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. So Zach Wilson is the guy talked about QB1. But the next segment I want to bring to you guys is another take that I brought for you for a while and wasn't a popular take. And that is Mike White, quarterback 2. So you guys remember before training camp started, back when OTAs and minicamp was going on, we didn't really know. We didn't know who the backup was. And a lot of people speculated we should bring in a veteran. I remember, obviously Nick Foles is still a trade potential, but guys like Nick Mullins was on the table before he was signed. I don't know why I'm blanking on the one who used to play for the Patriots. Hoyer. Brian Hoyer was available, and then he got signed. There were all these potential options to do, but like Robert Saleh said, we like what we have. We like what we have in these two guys. We always feel like we can bring in a veteran at any point. We like what we have in Mike White and like what we have in James Morgan. Now, as you guys remember, I defended the James Morgan pick last year, and I still would, because at the time it makes a lot of sense. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. It's very easy. But a lot of people do it. But at the time, the pick made a lot of sense. You can find the take on Twitter. But a lot of people had James Morgan as the guy. But I kept saying, don't take your eyes off Mike White. Before training camp started, before the Mike White conversation started, I'd said it on Weapons Hot. I'd said it when Connor Rogers was on the episode. I said it to Connor Rogers. Shout out to him. I felt that, even though everyone was talking about James Morgan, I felt like people were sleeping on Mike White. And my reasoning was always the same. My reasoning was, as you guys remember, I was a James Morgan fan. He's got unbelievable arm strength. That's the biggest thing with him. He needs to work on almost everything else. He's a very developmental quarterback, but he has ridiculous arm strength. His arm strength is probably not Zach Wilson's, but it is damn good arm strength. But Mike White, when he was drafted in 2018, I remember, because again, I do, as you guys know, I do my eval. I wanted Dak Prescott. Wasn't a fan of all the other top guys. When Mike White went, say that 5 times fast. When Mike White went, that's funny, man. So when Mike White went in the 5th round in 2018, I liked him. I was a fan of him. I really, really was. And the reason I was is because whenever anyone talked about Mike White, they seemed to always say the same thing. They always came back to his football IQ. They always came back to this kid has an incredible knowledge for the game. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Charles Davis, and he can call me out if I'm wrong. It might have been him. It was somebody. But somebody had said that I went above and beyond and said that I had personally interviewed him at the combine, or just at that time when they were interviewing with, potential prospects, and were just blown away by his knowledge, how he just knew every play and every read and every progression. He said that he felt like he knew football beyond his years. And that's what stuck out to me. Because as you guys know, and as I've tweeted and I've said about Zach Wilson, a lot of people call them intangible traits. I call them cerebral traits. And I call them cerebral traits for a reason, because this game is 90% mental, especially at the quarterback position, guys, especially the quarterback position. We've talked about it where guys like, I've joked about, you know, John Elway up in Denver, with his prototypical wanting certain guys that match certain, measurables. But Baker Mayfield said it best when they interviewed Baker Mayfield about seeing over the offensive line back in 2018 when he got drafted first overall. Shocked everybody. They thought it was going to be Sam. Shows you don't know what's going to happen. But when Baker was drafted, they asked him about not being able to see over the line. And he just laughed, man. And he's like, dude, those offensive linemen are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". Becton's basically 6'8". I mean, come on. He's like, if you're not 6'4" or 5 or even 6 or higher, you're not seeing anything. So the majority of these quarterbacks, 6'2", even Zach Wilson, if you're not Trevor Lawrence, you're not seeing anything. That's really the point. And too many people get caught up in these measurables where they want the guy that can see. But anticipation is key. As you guys know, I pointed it out. When you get too much caught up on measurables, again, Denver to me is the low-hanging fruit. You draft the Paxton Lynches of the world. You draft the Brock Osweilers of the world. And you miss out on the Kyler Murrays. You miss out on the Russell Wilsons. You miss out on the Zach Wilsons. You don't take those guys. Mike White, his intelligence was off the charts. Everyone who spoke about him, Mike White, football IQ. That always, if they talked about other things, always talked about football IQ. And I told you, I believe Charles Davis went on and on about how great it was. As I pointed out, cerebral traits, this game is so mental. That's why I like Mike White. So again, no shout, no, crap on James Morgan. If he makes it, great. But my money, and before camp started, as you guys remember, camp started on, I believe it was Tuesday, I think was the day it happened. And the starting quarterback when Wilson wasn't there was Mike White. And I was really excited. Found out the next day that they're alternating the guys. But there might be a reason Mike White started the first day as opposed to James Morgan, who started the second day. I don't know. But again, my money is on Mike White. I really, really do like that guy. So I see you guys in the comments, shout out, appreciate you guys, told you loving you guys are there. Shout out to Jeff, shout out to Jeremy, shout out to Steven saying, what up fellas, what up peeps, what up bro, I'm with you too, man. Excited for you guys to be here. I love, and that's the beauty of it. We can chat. There's no, as we've done, I have things I want to talk about and stuff I want to share with you guys about training camp. And a lot's gone down. We've learned a lot. But again, and I'm going to keep doing it, and it's going to be fun. We're going to keep coming back to this. We're going to keep coming back to pads aren't on yet. And I think it was DJ shout out, I'm a big fan of his, man. He puts out good stuff on Twitter. He's doing really great work. We've collaborated in the past, as you know. I've done interviews with him. He's a great dude. He knows his stuff. He tweets a lot of great stuff. He pointed it out, too. When the pads go on, things change. And I've been saying it for a while. Training camp and even preseason. You guys remember my whole rant. I'm not going to get into it because I've done it so many times. I'm going to go crazy because I can't stop doing it because there are people that think the preseason shouldn't exist. So it still makes me nuts. You need them in pads. You need them against real competition. The pads separate the men from the boys. So I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk about wide receivers and who's looked good and who stepped up and who could be the guy. But again, pads aren't on yet. So when those pads go on next week, or not next week, hopefully tomorrow is what I meant to say. I'm getting my days screwed up. The pads should hopefully be going on tomorrow. But whenever they do, that's when things are going to change. That's when the men are going to be separated from the boys. So we talked about, again, Mike White at QB2. I've talked about him before training camp started, before, a lot of people were talking about Mike White, when everyone was talking about James Morgan. Remember, it was James Morgan season. I was seeing it all over the place. James Morgan in the Twitter names, James Morgan season. I don't know, man. And I don't hate James Morgan. I liked the pick when it happened. I liked when we took him. If he's the backup guy, great. And I think that was Salah's point. One of these two guys can be the guy. Why bring in a veteran that's meh? And so far, these veteran options, a lot of people like Foles. I'm going to tell you, man, meh. I've said that before. My take on Foles is meh. I feel like there's perfect example of a system quarterback that did really well when a good system was in place that supported him and actually went to his strengths. But he's not a guy that's going to lead a team, and he's not a guy that's going to be in Zach's ear motivating and mentoring him. That's going to be Rob Calabrese. Remember, now that shout out, to Greg Knapp. We're going to miss him. He was a great guy there. He made a big difference while he was there. But now the burden's on Rob. Rob's going to step up and be that voice in Zach's ear. It's not going to be Foles. Let's be honest, guys. I'm telling you, it's not going to be Foles. So if you want him to come in and be the Josh McCown, I don't think that's what you're getting. I honestly don't. I think you're getting the Joe Flacco. I think you're getting the guy like I pointed out when we signed him. If you wanted a mentor, you didn't sign the right guy. Because Joe Flacco doesn't want to mentor a young quarterback. He wants to play. And same thing with Nick Foles. I don't think, again, his knowledge is the greatest. I'd rather have even Flacco in his ear than I don't have brain fart right now. Flacco in his ear instead of Foles. But honestly, neither one would be in his ear. And that's the point. Neither one would be a voice in the ear. So that's just my opinion. I was going to check out your guys' comments quick before I go back. Again, I love it. We got a lot of sections I want to go through. This is exciting. We're going to go through all the positions. We're going to talk about it because, again, the pads aren't on. I got my calm down. Pads aren't on yet, but stuff's going down. So it's fun to talk about. Always fun to talk about. Jeremy points out, shout out to Jeremy, Foles is so immobile. Man, I'm just not a fan. I look at it like this way. Like, Foles had his shot when he went to the Rams. Foles had an opportunity to be the guy. And you know what? It failed. It failed. And Josh McCown is so smart. He stayed in the league for so long. Same thing with guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Even Joe Flacco, I don't look at Foles in that way. I don't put Foles in that kind of a comparison. So people want that mentor person. I'm like, that's not Foles. Like, I just don't see him as that. So, again, if it turns out Mike White and James Morgan totally freaking bomb out and they're not the guy to back up Zach Wilson, then we got to trade for somebody. Then we got to do something maybe or sign somebody maybe. But I've said it, before training camp started, and I was saying it before, and I'm going to put it up again. Don't sleep on Mike White. I felt Mike White can be the guy. Mike White, QB2. You heard it here first. Remember, you heard it before training camp started. Again, because of that intelligence, that football IQ, this could totally be the guy. And if you want a guy that, remember, I think Robert Saleh said it the best. When he was a little kind of, I think it was the day before Zach signed on Monday, like he kind of sounded like drained, like he was done talking about it. And I could look up the quote. I don't have it exactly in front of me. But basically, when they asked Robert Saleh about it, he was like, look, guys, if you don't have your starting quarterback in the game, you lose. That's basically what he said. He said, if your starter's not in the game, your chances of winning are very low. It's a fact. It's true. If your quarterback's out, that's it. Mike White can give them a good chance because of that football intelligence. Maybe it's Morgan because of the arm strength. But one of those guys could definitely be the guy. So, talked about that quarterback position. Appreciate you guys. I see your comments. Thank you. Shout out. So, after quarterback, we're getting into that running back position. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, that running back position is wide open. Completely wide open. And training camp so far has been the best example of how it's wide open. We've talked about, remember, the 5 backs that are in this backfield right now that could potentially get this job. This job belongs to nobody. I think it could be Michael Carter. I believe it should be Michael Carter. I gave my argument why. A lot of people like Ty Johnson. A lot of people like Tevin Coleman. But even Pirine or even Adams, it's anyone's job right now. Any of those 5 dudes. Whoever possibly wants it. So what we've seen in training camp is all of them have gotten the carries. Every single one of them has gotten the ball in running situations. What we've seen in camp, and again, I shout out to DJ because I unfortunately don't have credentials. I hope to get them soon. I definitely hope to get them soon and get my company on the sideline there, guys, because I'm going to be giving you guys some great stuff if I'm there. Promise it. It will be great. But when it comes to, giving great content and, giving the play-by-plays, my 2 guys as of lately have been Connor Hughes, shout out to him, and DJ. They've been really great. And DJ pointed it out. When we were talking about the running back position, he was shouting out Bam Bam. He was giving play-by-play, and everyone's name was in it. Even Walter was in the mix. Everyone's in the mix right now. Like it says, this running back competition is wide open. It is completely open right now for whoever wants it. I mean, certain guys are getting the ball more than others. So we got Michael Carter's getting the ball the most. Tevin Coleman is getting the ball a good amount. And Ty Johnson's getting a decent amount of carries too. Those three guys are getting the ball the most. I'd probably say, based on what I've seen, Michael Carter's probably getting it the most, but Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson are pretty close at that nipping heel. And as you guys remember, my take was that Michael Carter, as you guys remember, I said just as good as Javonte Williams, more yards in college. I didn't get why everyone didn't see him and only saw Javonte. Could have been a second-round pick. This guy's the guy. This is running back one. We got him in the fourth, and we could have got him in the second or the third. That's the quality of this guy. So I'm stoked about him, man. I think Michael Carter is going to be the guy. Ty Johnson looked really good last year. You guys remember how I feel about Josh Adams? I thought Josh Adams looked even better than Ty Johnson in limited play. Remember, the majority, not even just a little bit, the majority of Josh Adams's yards were after the carry. So my question to you, if you're a running back that's got over 60-something% of your yards after the carry, like a Chris Ivory type, how are you supposed to shine without the pads on? And that's a legitimate question. If you're a guy, again, that has more yards after the carry than before, after contact than before contact, how can you be judged properly before pads go on? So I think once pads go on, people are going to see Josh Adams for what he really is. And he's a beast. Remember, out of his, I don't have it in front of me again, but out of his 160-something yards, over 100 of them came after contact. This man is a beast. He goes through people, which is why I've liked him more than P. Ryan. Remember, my take is if I want a power back, I want Josh Adams. Josh Adams is 10, 15 pounds heavier than P. Ryan. He's bigger, and hell, he's actually faster. He's actually faster and more agile. I don't hate P. Ryan at all. Please don't think I do. I prefer Josh Adams. I think he's a much, much better option. But, as you guys remember, Robert Saleh, in his interview, mentioned a lot of running backs, but he didn't mention Adams. He mentioned P. Ryan and called LaMichael P. Ryan his power back. So if Robert Saleh views LaMichael P. Ryan as his power back, who the hell am I to argue with him? That's kind of how I look at it. So if LaMichael P. Ryan is Robert Saleh's power back, God bless him. That's his power back. So I personally would choose Josh Adams for the reasons I've mentioned. But that running back committee right now, those 5 guys, it's wide open. Everybody's getting carries. Even, I don't even know if I'm getting his name right. I believe it's Walter or Austin, because he's no chance of making the team. Even he's got 1 or 2 carries. This running back committee is wide open. The way, again, I've seen it is Michael Carter has gotten the majority of carries. Coleman and Ty Johnson have gotten the second most. I didn't mention it before. My take is I think I mentioned Michael Carter, running back 1. I think Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman make a good running back 2 together. They can complement each other well, with Tevin Coleman also being a third down specialist as well as a pass catching back. That is my personal opinion. That is what I would do if it were me. But again, I'm not there. I'm not Robert Saleh. I'm not making those decisions. And I trust him. I, again, believe in Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas is my guy. But Robert Saleh right now is our head coach, and he's the motivator. He's fiery. The team loves him. We like the people he's put in place. If he believes LaMichael P. Ryan's his guy, then LaMichael P. Ryan's his guy. Heck, maybe P. Ryan's the starter when all of this goes down. I would go as far to say that any of those 5 guys that I mentioned could be the starter week 1. Any of them can be running back 1. Because as we've seen, again, DJ, shout out to him. He's tweeted it out on the running portion of the drills. Everyone's getting the ball. Michael Carter's getting the majority of the carries. I'd say Tevin Coleman is probably maybe a close second. Ty Johnson's right behind him. I like them both, but they're all getting carries. Adams got a few. P. Ryan's got a few. So it's an interesting situation. A very, very interesting situation. So we talked about the running backs. Now we're going to move on to the wide receivers, the wide receiver portion of tonight. So at wide receiver 2, the question is twofold. The question is Keelan Cole the Jets wide receiver 2? And what about Denzel Mims? How does Denzel Mims fit into this equation? So the truth right now is still, hence why I have a question mark over here, where wide receiver 2 is. We don't 100% know. We don't actually know yet because, again, the pads aren't on. I'm coming back to this. I'm circling around. This bandwagon is coming back to this, guys, because this is the key. The pads aren't on yet. They haven't gone on yet. And until they go on, things are going to change. One thing that's not going to change in that wide receiver room is Corey Davis's wide receiver one. I will say that. Wide receiver one is a lock with Corey Davis, and we're excited about that. You guys remember all the stats I mentioned? 5th overall pick back in 2018 out of everyone. First wide receiver taken, one of the best in college history. The potential on him is sky high. He had a contract year last year, almost had 1,000 yards, really has that potential to be a wide receiver one. But who's the wide receiver two? I won't go through the whole thing. You guys remember we talked about it. How Keelan Cole was, felt to be the better route runner. How Mims is more of a linear player, quote unquote. Cole fits the system better. Remember, my take was who wants it? Who wants it? And that's what it comes to right now. What it looks like is Keelan Cole's been running predominantly with the starters. That is what we've seen. From what we've seen, when again, the pads aren't on, and we've seen guys rotating around. We've seen a little bit of Zach Wilson running with the twos. We've seen a little bit of, Elijah Moore running at wide receiver 2 on the outside. We're seeing a lot of different things because the beauty of it is that's what camp's about. Don't we want Mike LaFleur to mix things up a little bit? Don't we want Mike LaFleur to figure out what works best, who works where, what situation is best? This is the beauty of it. So it is a little hard to gauge because pieces are a little interchangeable right now. Mike LaFleur is like a kid with a Rubik's Cube. But the interesting thing is the Rubik's Cube doesn't have to be a certain way. I know that doesn't kind of kills the analogy. Kind of killed the analogy a little bit. So maybe Rubik's Cube isn't the best example. I'll say that. Maybe Rubik's Cube ain't the best example. But the point is Mike LaFleur like clay. Let's go with another metaphor. Let's metaphor this baby up. Mike LaFleur, like clay, can mold this offense, and he can mold it into whatever the hell he wants it to be. If he views this guy here or that guy there, that's the point. We want the best people, the best players in the best positions. So that is a little hard to gauge as well. But throughout OTAs, throughout, mini camp, and throughout the first week of training camp, Keelan Cole has been the wide receiver 2. When the starters are on the field, Corey Davis is wide receiver 1, which again is a lock. That's a lock. That's not changing. That guy has all the talent. They interviewed him about being a wide receiver 1. He's excited about being a wide receiver 1. He's a lock at wide receiver 1. Keelan Cole looks to be the wide receiver 2, but Denzel Mims can earn it. And the point of him earning it is now, when the pads go on. Denzel, if you are hearing this, when the pads go on is your chance to earn it. You want to be wide receiver 2? Beat Keelan. That's the answer. You want wide receiver 2? Beat Keelan Cole out for the job. That's how you're going to get it. Once those pads go on, things change. So let's see what happens. Could be Denzel Mims, but let's just say Keelan Cole is wide receiver 2. Well, if that's the case, Mims is going to be used. It's not like Mims is not going to be in the equation. Denzel Mims, as they pointed out, even Hughes and DJ, who have said Cole is the better fit, they call him a linear player. Use him in a linear way. Mims down the sideline. Mims, straight line running with somebody, blowing him out. Mims is also a big guy at 6'3". Excuse me, at 6'3", 200-something pounds, Mims is a big dude. Mims can, make contested catches, and that's one of my favorite things about Mims. In his rookie year, one of my favorite things about him was making the catch when he had somebody on him. When either he beat the coverage by a step, or he had to go a certain way to get the catch while the corner was on him or on his back, whatever it was. When he made the contested catch, I liked what I saw. So Mims will 100% be used, and he could earn the job. Now, when the pads go on, now is the time. But from what I've seen, from what others have said, it looks like Keelan Cole is the guy. Right now, it looks like it's Keelan Cole's job to lose. I point out again, I keep coming back to the pads are not on yet. But I do believe, as of now, it is Keelan Cole's job to lose. If Cole looks just as good as Mims, it might be Cole's job from what we've seen so far. I believe Cole, it is his job to lose right now, but Mims could really show when the pads go on. And as I pointed out, even if Cole's the guy, Mims will 100% be in the equation. 100% will Denzel Mims be in the equation. He will be making, again, contested catches, catches in the end zone, down the middle catches, short catches, as well as fly routes. Like we said, linear player, send them long. Mims will be used without question. Like we talked about, options ain't a bad thing. It ain't a bad thing to have options. It ain't a bad thing to say, well, I got these 3 guys and I want to use them all. Great. Use them all. Use them all. So we talked about wide receiver 2. The next position we're going to get to, man, I'm excited. The next guy we're going to get to, I'm excited about. Everyone's excited about. He's the real deal. And that real deal, his name is Elijah Moore. And Elijah Moore, man, that kid is special. He has special written all over him. I pointed it out. I looked back. Elijah Moore in college, you guys remember all the numbers I pointed out. Second best receiver in college, multiple years with 1,000 yards. He is the best slot receiver in college, period. Arguably the best receiver in this draft. I had to go back and look at all the Jets draft classes, who they took throughout the years. The only other first-round guy was Santana Moss back in the early 2000s, and he never had 1,000 yards in college. So Elijah Moore is so special. You have to go back to 1996 to make a comparison to him. You have to go back over 20 years to make a comparison to Elijah Moore. And that man is Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson, the first pick in the 96 draft, multiple 1,000-yard year receiver. He was a top prospect. That is what Elijah Moore is. For some reason, I don't know why, the Jets don't take a lot of top prospects. Now, I'm not talking about, a good wide receiver, because we got Mims. Mims is a good wide receiver. I mean, we got Devin Smith in the past. That didn't work out. He was a good wide receiver. I'm talking the best. I'm talking the CeeDee Lambs, the Jerry Judys, the number 1 guys in the world. Elijah Moore, the Jets even said it. The Jets said they were going to take Elijah Moore at 23. At 23, they were taking Moore. But when we traded up to get ADT, in some magical, beautiful way, Moore was still there at 34, because 34 is still kind of a first-round pick. Those first couple of picks up to about 35, 36-ish, like 35, 36, that's a first-round pick. So this kid is special, and we've seen it. We watched him flash in OTAs. We watched everyone say, oh my God, this kid looks amazing. We watched him light it up in mini camp, and we're watching him kill it in training camp. It's going to be consistent because we have something special. Again, I point out, it's the best Jets wide receiver prospect since Keyshawn Johnson. You can put him in conversations as guys like A.J. Brown, because guys like A.J. Brown said Elijah Moore is better than him. Remember that. They played together at Ole Miss. And A.J. Brown, when Elijah Moore was drafted, Brown was all tearing up because of how close they were. He told Moore, I got to tell you, man, you're better than me. You're a better wide receiver than me. Elijah Moore, man, this kid has special written all over him. And I pointed out today, Jamison Crowder made a great catch in practice, good catch. And my immediate thought was, I remembered everyone's talking about Elijah Moore, which is great. But just because Moore is great doesn't mean we should forget about Crowder. I mean, that's like saying, okay, maybe Corey Davis, and I hope he does. Maybe Corey Davis is like amazing, bro. And he has 100 yards every game, first couple of games. Well, just because he's having 100 yards a game doesn't mean you should forget about everyone else. You got to feed everybody, man. You got to get that ball around. They're going to double team people. They're going to scheme certain ways. You have to mix things up. So Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder, I don't know why we're talking about one or the other. That's my biggest thing here. I'm freaking out about this, guys. I don't know why we're talking about one or the other. Why it's got to be Elijah Moore in the slot or Jamison Crowder in the slot. Man, I want them both in the slot. You can have 3 wide receiver sets, 4 wide receiver sets. You can have 2 guys on the inside, 1 guy on one inside, 1 guy on the other. There's a lot of different possibilities. I talked about, how on the offense, how they're scheming certain ways. They're going to use people to their strength. You got a guy like Moore and Crowder, use them. I would not be surprised if we see both of them on the field at the same time. And again, why not? You got Corey Davis, that wide receiver 1. You got Moore. You got Crowder. And you got either Mims or Cole. Stop that. That's my challenge to NFL defenses. Stop it. Let's see you stop it, because that's talent, man. That's stacks on stacks. Crowder and Moore go, so quick, so agile in the middle. One of them's getting open. One of them's getting open. Maybe they both have big seasons. Maybe Moore and Jamison Crowder are the two best Jet receivers this year. Why not? It's possible. For all we know, maybe Moore and Crowder are going to be our best receivers in 2021. Maybe it's Corey Davis. The point is we have options. We have all this. So Elijah Moore is special. He is special. That kid is going to be great. We talk about, again, all the beat writers who have been to camp unanimously. They all say this kid looks everything you want him to be and more. He looks exactly as he was advertised, and he really, really is. He is absolutely special. I'm going to give you guys a quote on him. So back on the 28th, they asked Robert Saleh about Elijah Moore, and I love this, man. I like this quote. They asked Robert Saleh about Elijah Moore, and Robert Saleh said, when he walks in that building, you'd think he'd been here 10 years. He asks all the right questions. He's putting in the work. He's an impressive young man. I'm excited to see him grow. Man, that first sentence is what stuck with me. When he walks in that building, you'd think he'd been here 10 years. He asks all the right questions. He cares. And you remember I pointed out, in the interviews with Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is a very religious person, which is excellent. He's very centered. He's very, God first, his mother first. He's a very good person. He's considerate. I'm honored to have him on the Jets, honestly. He is as good as they come. I love it. He's focused. He understands value. He has good virtues, and he's an outstanding wide receiver. If his play matches his ability off the field, it's great. His ability, again, just to be, he's a good person who does absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, we talked before, I don't want to jinx it, but again, he's very, very religious. He's very centered. He understands, I like that about him. I really, really do. So I'm looking at some of your guys' comments here. Look, you guys are saying with Elijah Moore. Jeremy's got some funny comments. Stephen points out, religious stuff. We ain't going to get into that. We don't normally get into religion. That's not a normal thing here. That's not a Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast thing. That's, just brought that up quick as a quick analogy. And like Jeremy points out, shout out to Jeremy. Jeremy says, just because you're the slot receiver doesn't mean you're not the best receiver on the team. And it's 100% true, man. 100% true. If you're, Jamison Crowder was the Jets' best wide receiver the last 2 years. That's a fact. And Jamison Crowder is the slot wide receiver. So the slot wide receiver can definitely be the best wide receiver on the team without question. See, Elijah Moore and Crowder could both be the guys. I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. When, everyone was talking about Elijah Moore, everyone was like, well, Crowder's not going to see the field. As Moore sees the field, more Crowder will see less. I mean, yeah, Moore is going to transition over time as the season goes on to be one of the premier guys in this offense, but they're not mutually exclusive. Man, we line them both up. We put them next to each other on the interior, cover them. Keep up with those two guys. Man, it's exciting. And like I pointed out, it's a great problem to have. So Moore looks special. Crowder looks good. We talked about the wide receiver 2 position. We talked about wide receiver 1 and how great Corey Davis looks. Guys, our quarterback has weapons. And that's so important. We talk in the past, whether you liked Sam Darnold or didn't like Sam Darnold, the argument was that he wasn't set up for success and he didn't have good coaching. Well, the coaching's been fixed. And the team has been fixed. Joe Douglas has gone out and, as everyone said, had the best free agency and one of the best drafts. And like I've said, this last draft, the franchise quarterback, the Zach Wilson, the guy I wanted, the guy I feel could be as great as anybody, Elijah Moore, potential superstar wide receiver, Carter, AVT, all the defensive picks. This draft has the potential to be one of the greatest Jets draft classes ever. And I do believe that. Again, not yet. Game hasn't been played. But this last draft class has the potential to be one of the best ever. So we talked about all those weapons, man. We talked about surrounding our rookie quarterback with weapons. We went through the running backs, the quarterback too. Now we're getting into that offensive line. And what's exciting in that offensive line, man, is that Becton AVT duo. That Becton AVT duo is just, mwah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's everything you would want in an offensive line. And what's even more amazing about it is these are 2 first-round picks that Joe Douglas took in consecutive drafts. Last year, he got us Maye Becton. He got us our beast left tackle. Guy's amazing. Big beast, mauler, puts people down. I think they said in Madden he's going to have a 99 impact blocking. This dude, I called it when they drafted him. When Maye was drafted, I said in short notice, he is going to become the pancake king of the NFL. And without question, man, if he's not it yet, Maye Becton will soon be the pancake king of the NFL, because that's what this dude does. This dude serves up pancakes. He puts men down, but he's fast. He's quick. You guys remember everything I said about AVT. His pass blocking last year, one of the best guards, in the last couple of years. Unbelievable potential there. And to bring that up for a second, to talk about, that connection. So we go back to Maye Becton. Everyone worried about the foot. And as you guys remember, I said it wasn't an issue. They said Maye Becton be ready to go by now. Maye Becton's been playing. And not only has he been playing, him and Carl Lawson have been going back and forth. Want to talk about that for a second, because that's been exciting. Maye Becton and Carl Lawson have been slugging it out. And I love what Maye said, man, because Maye said it best. I was thinking it, and he said it. Maye said when they asked him about him matching up with Lawson, Maye said, I love it, bro. Iron sharpens iron. And it's 100% true. You remember the old saying, iron sharpens iron? Better makes better. You put the best against the best, they only make each other better. And Becton is a upcoming premier left tackle in this NFL. And Carl Lawson, if people don't know it yet, they're going to learn it soon. He is just as good as any edge rusher in this league. And I'm going to take a sip of water right here, and I'm going to say that again, because that's important. So again, Carl Lawson is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. He's elite as anybody. I've shown how in QB knockdowns, he's not just up there with TJ Watt, he's tied with TJ Watt. So Becton has been going back and forth with Lawson. Like Becton said, iron sharpens iron. Lawson's been winning some, Becton's been winning some, but they both look great, and they're both making each other better. That's the key. They're both making the other one better, and they're both bringing each other to the next level, and I freaking love it. But that Becton AVT duo, man, coming back to that for a sec, people talked about Mackay's foot. He's fine. Maye is totally fine. But that AVT, man, AVT, shout out to him. In his interview the other day, he pointed out, man, as you guys saw, he led fans. He got fans all excited. And that's another thing I want to point out. Who are the 2 guys that led the Jets, the fans, in, the training camp that was open, the open practices? Rookies. Rookies led that. We had AVT one day and then Elijah Moore the next. Rookies, man, because rookies change the culture. They're bringing it in different. We said AVT, one of the best guards arguably in the last few years. Again, I compared him to when the Colts took Quentin Nelson, to when Washington took Brandon Scherf. That's the level, the quality of offensive guard you got here. And when they interviewed AVT, you know what he said, man? He said Jet fans are loud and proud. He said we're going to need them at MetLife for that first game at home and for the rest of the season. We feed off you guys. So AVT, man, he's reaching out to Jets Nation. AVT is reaching out, and he's saying, we need you. We need the noise. We need you to bring it. We need you to be proud and loud like you are. And we're going to do it, guys. We're going to bring it. And that's the message right now. That Becton AVT combo is huge, but it gets even better. It gets even better because that duo, that beautiful duo, has turned into a trio, and I love it. It's a freaking trio, guys. It's Becton, AVT, and Morgan Moses. And we saw Morgan Moses next to Maye Becton, I believe it was either yesterday or maybe today in training camp. Man, we know Becton's huge. We know he's a mountain. He's a mammoth. But Moses didn't look that much smaller. My apologies, guys. Just going to mute my phone here for a second. But he didn't look that much smaller because Moses is 6'6" and 320 plus pounds himself. Moses is a beast. And you guys know all the stats. We talked all about Moses. I don't hate George Fant at all. In fact, I hope George Fant wins the right guard spot. I mean, I like Van Roten a lot. Either one is good, but I like George Fant. Maybe, him or Van Roten, they'd both be really good options. But Morgan Moses, man. Morgan Moses has been one of the best tackles, the best right tackles in the NFL since joining the NFL. And he had his best season last year, where he had an 80 overall PFF grade, where again, Fant only had a 62, and he had an 86 run blocking grade. We talked about how Becton and AVT, Becton and AVT were going to be so good in that run blocking game. What about that right side? Well, Moses shores it up. Moses shores up that right side big time because he's big. Again, we talk about most guys next to Becton look small. Moses didn't. Remember that. Moses did not look small next to Becton. The two of them are a top 5 tackle duo in the NFL. And I've been saying that since we brought in Moses, and I believe that is true. Mekhi Becton and Morgan Moses are a top 5 NFL tackle duo, period. And that is a fact because, man, Becton, we talked about all the facts, should have been a Pro Bowler last year. Moses, one of the best right tackles in the game. Remember the video I showed you? We talked about, again, one of the best rushers in the NFL, TJ Watt. Well, I had a video of Moses dominating TJ Watt. Moses didn't just play TJ Watt, he put him down. He put him pancake down. Moses dominated TJ Watt. Man, him and Becton, now with AVT, that's 3 studs on a 5-man offensive line. That offensive line is ready to eat, and I am stoked. Like we talked about, think back to all those great years with Mark Sanchez. That offensive line was stacked. DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Nick Mangold, Brandon Moore, Damian Willie Colon. There was talent on the line. So we talked about that Becton AVT duo, but man, it ain't a duo, it's a trio. It is a sexy, sexy trio. And the 3 of them, 3 studs on that 5-man offensive line. You guys remember how I felt about Connor McGovern, and we're going to talk about him quick. Because quick shout out to Connor McGovern. Because as you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan, and I wasn't the biggest fan, and I think I have good reason to be. I mean, look at the center position we've had. Nick Mangold, Kevin Maye, Fields, Schmidt. Man, I'm going back. We've had great centers for almost ever. We've sucked at a lot of other positions, but we've usually always had good centers. And Mangold, Maye, they showed us, especially Mangold, having a guy that's a film junkie that understands alignments, that understands how matchups exist and players line up, and can call audibles himself and make a rookie quarterback aware of a situation he may not be aware of is huge. I don't believe Connor McGovern is that guy. Now, I'm not saying he's not a bad blocker. He's an okay blocker. He may be better this year, but he's not that cerebral guy. He's not going to be the guy to call out plays and call out alignments and, point something out maybe to Zach Wilson. Maybe once or twice, but not at the level we saw. Remember, Nick Mangold made more audibles than Sanchez did. We're not seeing that level. I wanted that level. But as you guys know, I was down on Connor McGovern. I felt, everyone's like top 10 center second half of the league. Top 10 center second half of the season. Well, that's great and all, but he was one of the worst centers for the first half. And pardon me, but I want consistency in my center. That's a big thing. I want consistency from that captain. Remember, I've talked about it. It's why I like guys like Creed Humphrey. Center, captain, man in the middle, the guy that can lead the charge, the film guy, the one that is the captain of, other than the quarterback, the real captain of that offense, honestly. So going back to, having that, McGovern isn't that. But a lot of people felt that Denver ran a wide zone scheme, which is now what we're going to be implementing. Not what Adam Gase ran, but what Robert Saleh is going to be implementing. And when Connor McGovern was interviewed about it, man, he was stoked. He said that he was built for the wide zone scheme. He said it was about what they ran in Denver. And then he went on for about 2 minutes to explain the wide zone scheme. and it sounded damn good. He gave a really damn good explanation of the wide zone scheme. I was actually blown away by his intelligence level of it. So maybe I was wrong. And as you know, I think not enough people do it enough. Hey, I'm a human being, man. I give you guys my opinion. I hope I'm right a lot, but I'm wrong often too. And I might have been wrong about Connor McGovern. And if I was wrong about him, that would be great. That means we have an excellent center. But as I pointed out, top 10 second half of the season, one of the worst in the NFL the first half. Like 60 something that first half, great. Really not great. So hopefully, again, he said he's built for this wide zone scheme. He said he was stoked about this wide zone scheme. That could be interesting. And again, we talked about right guard. Could be George Fant. Could be Greg Van Roten. Both of them are veterans. Both of them have experience. Both of them are good blockers. So this offensive line, man, is going to be good. And it's because mainly of that Becton, AVT, Moses trio. So we talked about offensive line. And as you guys know, I say it all the time. It's my slogan. It's Joe's slogan too, and I love it. Football is won and lost in the trenches. It is. And it's not just on the offensive side. You got to flip it around and go to that defensive side. So we talked about that offensive line. My segment for the defensive line is very simple. It's that the defensive line is going to eat. And I got those devil faces, man, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting to watch. How long has it been since the Jets have had a premier defense? I pointed this out. There's so many positions we should be excited about. We talked about wide receiver. We talked about running back. We talked about the quarterback, Zach Wilson, everything. But think about this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in my early 30s. My whole life, the defense has been the bloodline of our team. The defense has what's been making or breaking always the New York Jets. And we haven't had a great one in a while, but it's always been that way. Now, a Robert Saleh defense lives and dies by getting to the quarterback. It is all of it is predicated on getting to the quarterback. If you cannot get to the quarterback, you do not succeed in this defense. Doesn't matter how good anybody else is. It doesn't work. And you guys remember I pointed out all the stats, how Robert Saleh, all those years he was with the 49ers, every single year, top of the NFL on quarterback hurries, every year, always top of the league, because that's how this defense works. Even, remember I pointed out, even in 2020, when Bosa out, Ford out, best edge rushers are gone, they're still getting to the quarterback top of the league because that's what they do. And this defense, man, we talked about Carl Lawson, again, up as good as any edge rusher you can name. Carl Lawson, he's in that category, and he's going to show everybody soon enough. Soon enough, man. Vinny Curry, I've mentioned. Remember, I pointed out how JFM said he's got the fastest get off in his life. He's still 30. He's only 30. He's 33 years old, but he's still fast as hell. Still really quick. Had 10 quarterback hits last year. Quinnen Williams, automatic defensive tackle one. That guy's going to dominate from the inside. Remember, I pointed out that that NFC executive that said Quinnen Williams is going to have a huge year. He's going to have a huge year because he was used okay last year, but man, he was made for this 4-3 system. He was made to be that defensive lineman in the middle there and that one tech in that defensive system. That's what he was designed to do, to just murder people and eat. He was designed for it, man. I love it. Then he worked in the nose tackle, but you move him over, two guys in the middle, man, he's going to kill it. And it's exciting. So Quinnen Williams, he was great last year, 7 sacks, ranked 4th among all interior guys. So even used not to his best strengths last year, he still ranked 4th in the entire NFL amongst interior defensive linemen. So in this new 4-3 scheme, man, Quinnen's going to eat. And we didn't even mention John Franklin Myers, Foley Fatukasi, Nathan Shepard. Man, this defensive line is going to eat. And it has to, because this whole defense is predicated on it. I'm not saying it's going to happen because I believe in it, man. I believe in this defensive line. We saw Carl Lawson matching up with Mekhi Becton. Carl's winning some. Becton's winning some. Talked about the potential of Williams, all these guys. But if this defensive line doesn't get to the quarterback, we don't win. It doesn't work. Again, this whole Robert Saleh scheme is designed and predicated on getting to the quarterback. So I truly believe our guys are going to eat. I do, man. I believe all these guys, all those guys I mentioned. We only had 30-something sacks last year. Man, between Lawson, Williams, and let's say Franklin Myers or Rankins alone, they're going to have over 30 sacks. Alone, they're going to have over 30. And we're not even talking about the Foleys, the Currys, the Huffs. It's exciting, man. It's really, really exciting. So this defensive line is going to eat, and they've looked good in camp, especially Carl Lawson. As we talked about, iron sharpening iron, him and Makai Becton, great matchup, both of them getting better. They're both playing at an elite level, and they're both winning. It's exactly what we want to see. Exactly what you want to see. So, we talked about that defensive line. Now we're going to move it back a little bit. We're going to talk about those linebackers, and we're going to start with one of my favorite linebackers on the team right now. And his name is Hamza Nasruddin. Hamza Nasruddin was running with the ones today. That got me all stoked. Because, again, some fans are at the things. Unfortunately, again, I couldn't be there. But Richie Malora, Jets Media, he was there, and he pointed out, he said that Nasruddin was running with the ones. And, man, that got me excited. I pointed out with that second half of the quote, if you guys haven't seen it, please check it out at my website, takeflightmedia.org. I wrote a whole piece on why Hamza Nasruddin was the biggest steal of this draft. And without a doubt, he might definitely be the biggest steal of this draft. As you guys remember, talked about, should have been a second-round pick, potentially third round pick, almost 100 tackles a season when he was healthy, does everything right. Big guy at 6'4", 220, long, fast, excellent coverage, checks every box. So I felt, and I pointed it out, that next to C.J. Mosley, Hamza Nasruddin is the best coverage linebacker that we have on this team. And I believe that. Next to C.J. Mosley, Nasruddin is the best coverage linebacker. And today, he was running with the ones. And remember, I've said it, I'm excited about Sherwood. I think Sherwood, man, he packs a punch. Jamien Sherwood is going to murder people like Jamal Adams murdered people. Like, that dude puts people down. But Hamza's special. So again, check it out on my website. I put film up, eval of my own, the stats I talked about, even why he fell in the draft. Because he did fall. I talked about why he fell so far. But he was projected to be a second, third round pick. So Hamza Nasruddin could be the biggest steal of this draft. And he was running with the ones today. And I'm excited about that, man. Again, excellent in coverage, can cover the tight end, potentially even cover a receiver or so. And that's the beauty of these hybrid players. He can fall back and play safety. Can he fall back and play back in the backfield? Sure. Why the hell not? He did it in college. Can Marcus Maye come up and play at the line like Nasruddin would or Sherwood would? Sure. Why not? These are hybrid defenders that we can use in all different ways. And you guys remember we talked about this. These hybrid defenders make this defense interchangeable. And they make it hard to predict. You don't know if he's coming, if he's dropping back in coverage, what he's doing. It's going to throw people off. Again, Robert Saleh is going to be like the anti-case. There's no more fitting that round peg into that square hole, man. It ain't happening no more. Robert Saleh is going to use these players right, and it's going to be exciting to watch. So again, Nasruddin is running with those ones. I think he'll keep running with those ones. I see him as a starter. Man, I am excited about Hamza Nasruddin. I feel like he was the biggest steal of this entire draft. So, a few things before we finish up. One of the other things I want to talk to you guys about is the CB2 position. So, before training camp started, I had said that the cornerback position wasn't as bad as everyone thought. It really wasn't. Remember, I said that Bryce Hall was going to be a stud. Again, Jets Media pointed it out that Bryce Hall has looked really good in training camp so far. And remember, you heard it here first. I said it, I think it was last week or the week before. We talked about it. I said that Bryce Hall was going to impress people in camp. That is exactly what I said. word for word. I said that Bryce Hall is going to show people that don't believe that he can be a CB1. That in limited time last year, in a bad system, with everything working against him, he looked like that CB1. Man, I thought he had so much potential when we drafted him. I immediately knew he could be a starter, loved his potential, but did not expect him to be as good as he was so quick. He was just scratching the surface of his potential last year. Just scratching the surface. And I was saying it. People saying the cornerback position ain't ready. Wait till you see Hall in coverage. He's going to lock dudes down in camp. And what has Hall been doing? Bryce Hall has been locking dudes down in camp. So, CB2 is the big question then. Because remember, I said we weren't that bad in the slot. We don't even need to talk about it that much. Because we've talked about Javelin Guidry. We've talked about Michael Carter. And even Brandon Echols is in the mix. Our slot cornerback position looks perfect. And CB1, I've said it. Remember, heard it here, that Bryce Hall was going to impress people in camp, that he was going to be that CB1 and lock people down. He's done it without the pads, and I think he will continue to do it with the pads. Again, we backtrack to the pads aren't on yet. Pads aren't on, so it's hard to judge, but Bryce Hall will be that CB1. So, CB2. We talked about it being a four-way competition between Bless Austin, Jason Pinnock, who you remember was my guy, man. I love Jason Pinnock. You guys remember how high I was on Jason Pinnock. And then he had that backward interception. Oh, man. Remember, I talked about how great at picking the ball he was. I said that he's got great ball ability, great ball tracking ability, excellent at finding it, great hands. He showed it, man. He showed it. And I talked about how great he was in coverage. I kept saying, don't sleep on Jason Pinnock. Remember, I was saying, Pinnock, CB2. I pointed out how he was comparable number-wise to J.C. Horn, comparable number-wise to Derek Stingley, but Lamar Jackson was also in the mix, and so was Isaiah Dunn, and we can't sleep on Isaiah Dunn. I tweeted out a picture, I believe it was just from 2 days ago. Isaiah Dunn made some ridiculous one-handed catch, like he's a CB, and he made this like ridiculous 3 feet off the air one-handed catch. But in this first week of training camp, because again, the pads haven't gone on, and this has only been 1 week. But in this first week, we've been hearing a lot about Bless Austin and a lot about Jason Pinnock, and not as much from Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Dunn. We've heard a little bit. We've seen a little bit of Dunn, and we've seen a little bit of Jackson. And from what we've heard, they've looked good. But we've heard predominantly with Bless Austin playing the CB2 spot and looking good and locking people down and playing well, and Pinnock also playing the second amount. Austin played the most at CB2. Then I believe from what I read and saw, Pinnock played the most at CB2 and again looked good, looked the part. He really, really did. So, a lot of your guys' comments. Checking them out right now because Jeremy S., who got burned on the bomb. I'd have to go back and look. I actually was too blown away by the throw, man. I got to be honest. I was too blown away by the throw, how great it was, how the great catch. I didn't look at who the defender was, honest. I got to go back and look. I'm not 100%. Shout out to Rusty Rousters there. Says, hey, Harry, appreciate you, brother. He's got a beer mug. I don't got my beer mug, but I got my water. I'm drinking that. So cheers, brother. Appreciate all you guys and great comments, all of you. Thank you guys for being there. Appreciate it. But going back, to the segments talking about CB2, it's exciting. And I thought, Ren, it was originally a competition between those 4 guys. That were the guys that were going into training camp. But we've predominantly heard Bless Austin, who, as you guys know, I'm on his shit list, and I don't understand why. I mean, I've been a big fan, and I'm pretty upset about it. I mean, I'm a fan of Bless Austin. Remember when we took him from Temple? Rutgers. My apologies. Not Temple, Rutgers. When we took him from Rutgers, I was a big fan. I talked about how, how great corners were coming from Rutgers, guys like McCourtney and how good he was. And I really, really liked his potential. I thought he'd be able to be a starter. I don't know what I did. My apologies. Sorry for whatever I did, but I'm blocked. But Bless Austin has looked like the guy, and he's been really, really good. And he's locked people down. Pinnock has played the second most. And as you guys know, I'm a big Pinnock fan. I really like him. You guys know we talked all about it. The numbers. Remember how great he was at Pitt. He played on an island. And on that island, he locked everybody down except for the speedsters. And you expect that. He runs a 4.5. He's not keeping up with the burners. Bryce Hall, remember I pointed out, runs a 4.5. He ain't keeping up with the burners. Lamar Jackson, that's not what they do. That's not their job. So, appreciate Grant shouting out. He's saying he's way late. No doubt, man. As you guys know, you can always go back and watch. You can always go back, watch the episode. We went through a lot. We've gone through all of the exciting things we've seen from training camp, all the exciting stories, all the starters, the guys that have made waves. Again, it's only been 1 week. Like we talked about, guys, gotta pump the brakes. You really do. It's only been 1 week, and the pads aren't on. Remember, when the pads go on, the men are separated from the boys. That's what I've been saying. But what we've seen with the CBs so far has been majority Bless Austin at CB2 and Jason Pinnock is the next guy. So that's going to be an interesting position to monitor. Again, I don't think Lamar Jackson is out of it, and I don't think Isaiah Dunn is out of it. I think they definitely have a shot to make it. I really, really do. So shout out to Grant. Appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Please, if you guys haven't, please subscribe. If you haven't done it, please click down below. Please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe. Thank you very, very much. So going back to it, I believe they're all in the mix because, again, the pads are not on yet. And when the pads go on, things are going to change. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So up to now, Bless Austin's been the main guy, and then it's been Pinnock. As you guys know, I love Pinnock. I'm a huge, huge Pinnock fan. I really love everything I've seen from college, from all the tape, from the stats I've seen on him. But we're going to see. So next topic of conversation, the kicker competition. And the kicker competition is interesting right now because it's between two rookies. We raved Sam Ficken, which I'm great with. I was not a fan of Sam Ficken. I didn't think he was as good as I know some people kind of liked him. I wasn't a fan. I felt like he missed a lot of kicks. I didn't like him that much. We have a competition now between two rookies. One rookie, his name is Matt Amendola. And no, he's not related to the other Amendola because he's got two M's in his name. So it's AMM instead of AM. So it's two M's, Matt Amendola. And the other one is Chris Nager. Chris Nager is the one we got from SMU, the undrafted guy. So both rookies, which is very interesting. Now, what is very interesting about Matt Amendola is when we signed him, I went and looked him up. And what did I find? I found a video of this dude balling out. First of all, he was training on Long Island. So as a guy, who's a Long Island native, lived on Long Island my whole life, shout out to Long Island, man. It was exciting to have him here. So I saw him at Stony Brook. I didn't see him personally, but I saw in the video that he was kicking at Stony Brook. He was kicking around Long Island, but he was kicking well. In the videos I posted, guys, check him out. Go to my Twitter feed. I posted a bunch of videos about the new rookie kicker, Matt Amendola. He was kicking 67-yarders. He had 3 70-yarders in a row. No, I'm not frozen. I'm just letting that sink in. 3 70-yarders in a row. I loved it, man. Had to tweet it out. Again, can he do it when the guys are coming at him? They showed a drill where I thought it was kind of cool. They were coming at him with noodles, which makes sense because, they're longer than arms. So they came at him with noodles. He kicked it like 50-something yards. He's got a strong leg, just like Nager. The biggest thing they were saying about Nager, remember I talked about as well, is this dude can boot it. So Nager and Amendola, the two guys we got in the kicker competition right now, they both got legs. Both of these guys can whale it. Both of these guys can hit it from like 70 plus. But can they do it at game time? Can they do it when the pressure is on? Can they do it when defenders are coming at them? Can they do it with a line in front of them? That's going to be the $1 million question. So that's what we got right now. We got a competition between those two rookies. Again, an undrafted guy in Chris Nager and a guy that we just picked up off waivers with Matt Amendola. So it's going to be interesting to see. But again, they both got legs, which I like. I like both of these guys can hit it from 70 plus. So depending, if we sign one of these guys, if we got a 60-something yarder, maybe we can try it. Maybe it'll be fun to try. Maybe we can get it. Both of these guys got legs. But we're going to see who can do it when the pressure's on and who can do it more consistently. That's going to be the key. So Harry points out, shout out, guys, I appreciate you guys all in the comments. Again, I'm doing segments right now, so I'm trying to, go back and forth with the comments. Appreciate all you guys, trying to bring you guys in as much as I can. Love bringing you guys in. Again, as I pointed out, that's what my show is. My show is a conversation. Like, I bring your guys' comments up. I talk about what you mention. You bring up a topic. I mention it. I talk about it. That's what we do, guys. I'm starting this new thing with segments, but it's what we do, man. I appreciate it. Excuse me. So, Harry points out again, shout out to Harry. He says the kicker's not on our roster yet. It's possible. And you know what? There's a lot of players on our team that may not be on the roster yet, potentially, because people are going to get cut. People are going to get cut from other teams. They're not going to be, staying there. And we might pick them up. Joe Douglas might pick one guy or another guy or somebody up from waivers. So not only is our team not set yet, and not only have the pads not gone on, there's still cuts. There's still going to be cuts from other teams. So our kicker's not on the roster yet, potentially. And potentially, there may not be a lot of other players on the team. It's going to be interesting to see what we do and, how we do it with that position. So those are the two kickers we talked about. I was going to end with one more segment. Before I do, I want to go through your guys' questions. So again, as you guys know, as I've mentioned, shout out to you guys. My show is, again, back and forth with you guys, live conversation. Please bring your comments. Bring your ideas, anything I've talked about, any of the positions I've talked about, anything you want me to talk about, anything I didn't talk about, you got an opinion, please shout it out now, ask your questions. I'm going to go through your guys' comments. Again, I appreciate you guys. Jeremy, appreciate you. Rusty, Tom, Steven, Grant, Rusty a bunch, Harry, again, Steven, all you guys, Jeff, really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for your comments. Love it. Love the conversations. And like Harry points out, Harry makes a good point. We have the number 2 waiver wire pick this year. That's a great pick to have. If there's a guy that's cut that a lot of guys want, somebody that wasn't expected to be cut, or somebody that it just didn't work out. But a lot of teams felt, oh, I loved this guy in the draft. He had so much potential. We have the number 2 spot, like Harry says. So that's a good spot to have. So again, I'm not saying this team is going to drastically change, but we could bring in a couple of guys. We could definitely bring in a couple of guys, and this roster is nowhere near set. Rusty, you shout out, man. You say, I'm awesome. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome, too. Again, thank you for your comments. I really appreciate it. It's you guys that, make this great for me. I love it. I appreciate all you guys. It's a great conversation. Again, I bring topics on hand, but I love when you guys, ask me your questions, ask me comments, ask me what you're thinking. So I have one segment I'm going to end with because it's a little bit of a not great one. It's a little solemn, kind of sucks. It's not working out. So I'm going to end with that one. But I appreciate all your comments, guys. Appreciate everything you guys are asking. So before we walk out of here today, before we end it tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end it with what I want to call Marcus Maye mood. So we've been hearing stories about what's going on with Marcus Maye from everybody except Marcus Maye. We've been hearing it from, the reports to Ian Rappaport, who, like we said, Joe runs a tight ship. We've seen it. Joe Douglas, there's no leaks in that ship. That ship is plugged up tight. So if you're getting information, is it coming from Eric Burkhart? Is Eric Burkhart feeding you stuff? Is he trying to fuel a fire? Because it's not like he's done it before. I mean, when negotiations were literally going on, there was no problems. There were no issues. There was no thing coming up. What does he do? He takes to Twitter and immediately says, my client isn't being treated properly, and he's one of the best safeties, and this is unfair. He's created animosity. So the ship is tight. Where did these reports come from? But like I pointed out, we've been hearing from everybody about these negotiations except Marcus Maye. But the other day, we got to hear Marcus Maye took the podium at training camp. And he spoke to everybody. And obviously, the question on everybody's mind was about negotiations. And I got to be honest with you guys. If I'm doing a Marcus Maye mood, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, the vibe I got from him, he was very like he seemed beaten down was the best way to put it. Like they asked him about it. He was saying that he wanted to get it done. Clearly it didn't happen. He wanted to stay long term. They asked him if the Jets were part of his plans. He kind of sighed and said, they asked him, do you still want to stay with the Jets? And he sighed and said, I just love football. I love playing football and I want to play for whoever wants to have me. The mood, guys, the mood wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't, and it was interesting because, again, Marcus Maye is a class act. I want to give a shout out to Marcus Maye. A couple of fans pointed out, shout out to Bleed Jets Green, and I apologize, I can't remember who the second person was, but he pointed out that a fan had made a bracelet for Marcus Maye, a nice bracelet, and threw it to him on the training field. Marcus Maye picked it up, put it on, and kept practicing. And he made that kid's day. They said that kid was so happy, but that wasn't it. Marcus Maye, a little while later, came over to that kid, and he didn't, Maye gave him the bracelet. He gave him his gloves. Marcus Maye gave him the gloves off of his own hands. Man, Marcus Maye is a leader. He's a leader. He leads by example, but he's also a good person. He cares. And you could see it in the interview. He didn't badmouth the Jets. He didn't say anything negative. He didn't say anything awful. But man, it did not feel good. It was the most deflating mood to me personally. I'm watching him answer these questions, and the mood was just like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, that was his mood. It was like, it is what it is. Like, I'll stay with the Jets if they pay me. If they don't, I'll move on. It sucks. So I'm going to end it with, the Marcus Maye mood. And the Marcus Maye mood, just a shout out to you guys' questions. Like Jeremy points out, and again, it's true. Shout out, Jeremy points out, Marcus Maye is making more money this season than I will ever make in my entire life. It's true, man. It's 100% true. And I say this stuff all the time. As you guys know, I pointed out I'm a teacher. They don't pay us nearly enough. People joke all the time. They say teachers, this, that, this. One thing you can't say is we're rich. I always joke around, anyone who went into teaching to make a lot of money, they made a mistake. Somebody led them the wrong way. They've been led askew. Somebody help them. So, I'm with you, man. These guys make a ton of money. They make way too much money. I've said it. With Marcus Maye making money to begin with, on the scale of NFL money is a different conversation. But, like Jeremy points out, shout out, Jeremy, we get the pension. It's true, man. We definitely do get the pension. But, what I'm saying. But moving on with Maye, yeah, in the grand scheme of things with money with the NFL, that's a different situation. But yeah, all these guys make too much money. They make way too much money. It's true. They make tons and tons of money, but it's because the sport makes a lot of money. It's understandable. Like, the sport makes tons and tons of money. The owners get tons and tons of money. The players get tons and tons of money. It trickles down. It's just how it works. We give them all our money. They make a ton from us. It is how it is. I mean, like I said, I feel like they make a lot, but they all do because that's how athletes are paid. So Harry points out Maye's a pro and who performed this year. Man, I've said it. I think, again, we talk back to the Marcus Maye mood. It's not good. It's not a good mood. I felt it. I'm watching him, and he felt deflated, man. And Harry, you're 100% right. Harry, you are 100% right. On that, just like he was on training camp, man, he took the bracelet, he put it on, he gave his fans, he gave the fan the gloves. He's a class act, he's a pro, and he will perform. He will play he will play to the best of his abilities. He really, really will. But the mood wasn't great. So we've talked about it, though, from our perspective. Our team holds all the cards, and Joe Douglas is always going to do what's best for the team. So though Marcus Maye's mood may not be great, it works best for us. And it's sad but true. And remember, I pointed it out. The NFL is a business. It's plain and simple. Maye even said it. Maye looked bummed, deflated, not happy, but he even said it. He's like, I get it. It's a business. And it's true. The NFL is a business. It is. So if you're Joe Douglas, like, Steven points out, he's not only older, but you also hold all the cards. You hold all the cards. Maye is under contract this year. Whether he likes his deal or not, he's tagged. He's under contract. And like Blake points out, I've been saying this. This has been my take for the longest time. Back when the Marcus Maye negotiations were first happening, my take was always that you can tag him again. Like Blake points out, you can also tag him again. And you tag him a second time. Remember, I pointed this out. Now the dude's 30. Again, I do believe he does deserve to get paid. But if he plays under tag while he's making 10 million fully guaranteed this year, and he's going to make like 11 and change million fully guaranteed next year. That's 21 million over 2 years. That ain't bad. I mean, it's again not the greatest NFL money ever, but like we pointed out, that ain't chump change. I mean, like we said, most of us will kill people for that money. Please, I'm not saying we're going to, but that's a lot of money. So again, guys, Marcus Maye's mood is not great. He seemed very downtrodden. He was very, it is what it is. He was not happy. But like I believe it was Harry that pointed out, Harry said he's going to continue to play at an all-pro level. He's going to continue to play, and he will. He's going to play at a top level. He may not be happy about it, but he will play. And like we pointed out, he may not like it, but this is a business, and the NFL is a business. Why do players demand more money and hold out? Because it's a business. And Joe Douglas holds all the cards. Like we said, he's tagged this year. He's under contract. He's under contract for $10 million. And I don't blame Joe Douglas. If you come at it from a GM's perspective, it actually makes sense. Here's a player coming out of his rookie contract for the first time ever, and he's about 28 years old. Now, again, I'm not saying he's not going to have a couple more good years. He definitely could have a couple more good years. But also, out of his 4 years, we can't forget his first 2, he was hurt. I mean, he was banged up. He had ankle injuries, and he was out those first 2 years. It was this last year that he played at such an elite level. It's not the worst idea for Joe Douglas to say, okay, well, safety is not a premium position. And out of his 4 years, he's only had a top elite year his last one. Let's tag him, see if he does it again. It makes sense. Let's see if Marcus Maye can repeat what he did last year. And if he can, you could tag him again. And if you're tagging him and you're paying him 11-something million, he's well worth it. He is well worth that money. So not a problem there. And again, you tag him a second time. Now he's almost 30 years old. So you've locked him down for another 2 years. But another situation, you could pay him at the end of this year. You can't blame Joe Douglas for saying, well, okay, he was hurt for 2 years. He had an amazing year last year. Let's see if he can do it again. If he does it again this year, maybe Joe does pay him. Maybe Joe gives him like a 2-3 year, like, I don't know, 30-something million deal, a good deal. Maybe he does. But again, we hold all the cards. He can get tagged again. He can be signed big time. And again, let's see if he can repeat that quality. So, looking at some of your guys' comments, seeing all the stuff you guys are pointing out. Frankie's pointing out, he says Samini's a drama queen. Said he was trying to create drama. It's funny, man. He's done it before. I remember when he asked Corey Davis, man, that was too much. When he asked Corey Davis about, like, you said you wanted to play with Sam Darnold. Like, what do you think about Zach Wilson being the guy? I thought Corey Davis's face was priceless. Like, Corey Davis, like, he was just like, his look on his face was like, this fucking guy? like for real, like, this fucking guy just asked me that? Like, are you crazy? Like, Corey had to emphasize, like, obviously I'm going to play with whoever the quarterback is. He said that when he came in because Sam was the freaking quarterback. What did the rest of the team say? Yeah, they said Sam's our quarterback. We're behind Sam. Because what the hell else are they going to say? They're going to say he sucks and we don't like him and he shouldn't be the quarterback? Like, come on. So that was just a stupid question. Like, what did he expect Corey Davis to do? Did he expect Corey Davis to go on a 5-minute rant about why Sam Darnold sucks? Or, like, how he didn't want Zach Wilson to be drafted? Like, what the hell was he expecting? Craziness, man. Craziness. So I see, shout out again. Harry points out, like I pointed out, if he's tagged for 2 years, he's going to get, like I said, about 22, 23 million. That ain't bad money. I mean, again, at the scope of NFL's things, it's not the greatest money, but it isn't bad either, especially for a safety. It's not bad money. And like we said, Joe Douglas, he holds all those cards. So again, we come back to the Marcus Maye mood. His mood's not great Because again, this is how it works. Jamal Adams thought he held all the cards. So he did his thing. Because of the situation, because the Seattle Seahawks were stupid enough to trade away 2 firsts. Like, come on. You traded away 2 firsts for a non-premium position safety. They gave Jamal Adams all the cards. But Marcus Maye is realizing that he doesn't hold the cards. That's what's happening right now. He's realizing that Joe Douglas, again, a couple of things. Maybe he looks at, again, safety as not the most ultimate, premium position, right? Maybe he doesn't, like we said, maybe he plans on, like I said, it makes the most sense. Out of 4 years, he only had 1 really great year. Why don't we see if he can do it again? Wouldn't it make sense to see if he can do it again before you throw a lot of money at the guy? Remember, the biggest knock I kept saying on McCagnon was he was paying guys that weren't worth the money. So I'm not saying Marcus Maye's bad. Believe me, I ain't saying that. But let's see if he does it again. If he does it again, you can give him another big deal. We can again just point out again, shout out to Jets Gang. But again, this is an interesting situation. So Jets Gang points out how Simmons got tagged twice. He did, but again, Maye's an older dude. It's an interesting situation. Marcus Maye is not a spring chicken. He's a 28-year-old coming out of a rookie deal. That's rare, especially for a pretty high draft pick and a high performer of his level. It's rare. So we could definitely tag him twice. But if we tag him twice, the guy is going to be just about 30 years old. It's going to be tough for him to get a long-term contract. Do I feel like that would suck for Marcus Maye? If I were Marcus Maye and I got tagged twice and I'm now 30 and people are questioning paying me, yeah, I get it. I get why Marcus Maye, and again, I get why the Marcus Maye mood is not great. But again, it's a business. From Joe Douglas's perspective, it makes sense. I get it. I'm on board with it. Marcus may not be happy with it, but just like Harry pointed out, he's a pro. He's a pro, and he's going to continue to carry himself like a pro. And hell, like Jeremy points out, Maye might be a top 10 this year. Like we said, if Maye's a great safety, pay him then. At the end of the season, we have every opportunity to give him a long-term deal. We could tag him again, or we could let him walk, or we could pay him long-term. We have all the options. Again, we, the Jets, hold all the cards. So again, that's why it sucks for Marcus Maye, but I get the logic. It makes sense to me. The guy's an older guy. He's had 1 really great year. Let's see if he can do it again. Tag him, give him $10 million, which again is not chump change. Here's $10 million, mister. Let's see if you can do it again. So let's see if he can do it again. So, like always, I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you guys on this Monday evening. I know you guys got a lot of places you can be. I appreciate all of you being here, especially all you guys in the comment. I mentioned all you guys, Frankie, Harry, Rusty, Jets Gang, all you guys, Blake, Jeremy, all of you. Appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of it. Really love interacting with you guys. Really love all you guys being here. As well, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. If you have not, it's right below you guys. It's right there on YouTube. You see it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So again, thank you guys for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. I'm Harrison Glazer. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you here on this Monday evening. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you guys have a great week. Again, the pads are going on tomorrow. Get excited. Get ready to see when those pads get on, when we start to see, as we said, the men separated from the boys, when they're hitting, when the power running backs are going to show what they can do. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. Go Jets.